Ajusta Tu Corona was a dream of mine since I was very young. I didn't bring it to fruition until I was much older. And basically what it is we all have a story to tell. And a lot of people were not aware of my story, of their stories, and they were a little bit shocked to find out what our humble beginnings were and how we became so successful. So never underestimate the power of your story. It is inspirational, it is motivational, it can save someone's life. My message to all the women out there and to everyone out there who may be facing adversity, never forget how amazing you are. Never forget how exceptional you are. Ajusta tu corona and keep it moving.
Buenas noches.
Hola, mi gente.
All right, let me change the view here a little bit because I'm not liking this view.
Epa.
I love it when we're front and center for all of you. We so appreciate you being with all of us tonight. And that was my son, Richard, who was actually in the room instead of watching me on the screen as normal. So tonight we have a special program for you. And I know that we talk about till we're blue in the face about what is domestic violence and how you can, how much you've listened to us talk about it. But tonight we're actually going to dedicate our program to the victims of domestic violence, not just the ones that survived, but more the ones that did not survive. It's really sad because I decided to do this morning. And as much as I racked my brain trying to remember all of the stories that I have read, all of the stories that have brought me to tears, I couldn't remember not 1/8 of all the victims that I have read about. And that literally broke my heart because I know that there have been so many of them. I remembered a couple of personal ones because they were immediate family, but I could not remember all the ones that my friends knew, whose friends knew other friends, whose family members I knew and someone in their family. And that made me very sad that I personally would be able to so easily forget them, or in the moment, I couldn't think of everyone's name as much as I wanted to. And as much as I wanted to post pictures of everyone, it was very hard for me. Anything that I've posted, I found either online or I went directly to the family member and asked them if it was okay, and they sent me pictures. Otherwise, my sources were Reuters News, The Guardian, and other news media that I was able to use for the story. And please join me tonight in talking about this a little bit. I want to start off with good evening, kings and queens. Welcome to Conversations with Ajusta Tu Corona, which translates to adjust your crown. Sorry, I forgot to do my intro, so I have to do it now. Thank you for joining us this evening as we dedicate this show to those who did not get out in time. Please share, like, and subscribe this podcast as we grow our audience. Without all of you, we would not be able to spread awareness. And that is what we are doing. We are spreading awareness. We are spreading the knowledge and the key and the hopes and the dreams that there is a better life after being a victim. There's so much I wish to share with you. Margarita, why don't you start off, because my dear friend will be leaving us early today.
Hola, mi gente. You know, it's always a privilege to be here. It's always an honor to show face for those who cannot express themselves, who have a voice, and those who are no longer here. This fight isn't for us. This fight is for all women on all walks of life. And it's heartbreaking. And when you see videos, and the video that Lillian had me watch, it brought tears to my eyes, because you know this happens every single day. You've heard of people that you might have known, family members, members of family, friends. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And we were all victims in a certain way. You know, I never considered myself a victim of domestic violence. And then the other day, I was sharing something about an ex with somebody, and I realized that I was a victim of emotional and financial domestic violence with someone. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And let me tell you that there's no better way to share and share and share and share kindness, gratitude, love, and safety. And that's what we're here to do.
Yes, we are. I'm sorry, I am not home. I am in someone else's home, so please forgive the background noise if you can hear it. I hear it loud and clear. So you let me know if you guys are able to hear it. I'm sorry, I have comments. Hello, Milagros. Thank you. Facebook user, hola. I usually Maritza. I hope that is you. And I would like to start off with some statistics. Domestic violent murders illustrate a persistent American crisis. In 2019, 9 out of 10 murdered women were killed by men. They knew, according to the Violence Policy Center, a national think tank, in nearly 2/3 of those cases, the women were wives or other intimate partners of the men. And that is heartbreaking because you never expect to be a victim of your domestic partner, of the person that you love, the person that you've decided to give your heart to. Often such killings follow years of abuse, which 6 experts interviewed by Reuters said raises questions about how police, courts, and society at large support women. In such crimes, attackers target one another intimately and may have children and a home together in intertwined finances, making the challenge complex. And I can be one to say that one of the reasons that I stayed for many years was the financial challenge. It's very hard, especially at my young age. When I started, it was very hard. I'm going to excuse myself for just 1 second and I'm going to let Margarita go on. Margarita, please continue.
Oh, you know, I think valiantly we believe that we don't have power, so we stay. But let me tell you something, to admit for reasons, because people don't understand why we stay. And so then they cut ties because they feel whether you like it or it's just, you're never going to change. But there's always a reason that we stay for a certain amount of time, right? Some of us have a plan, and unfortunately, that plan gets disrupted and lives are taken. But some of us can see it through. And like Lillian says, she stayed for financial reasons. And many of us stay for different reasons. So never feel shamed. See, when we feel shamed about ourselves, that's a heavier burden we're carrying. So then we feel like we can't go out there and we stay longer. And even if you get out of it, don't feel shame. Feel courageous. You got out of it. And we are going to talk about the victims today, which is such beautiful. Wait till you see. It is heartbreakingly beautiful. But we're going to talk further on this. But on Viva Café con Leche, as well as on Ajusta Tu Corona, we've discussed in detail about recognizing red flags. A red flag, one red flag can save your life.
That's it.
But sometimes we're blinded by love. We're blinded by need. We're blinded by fear. But, there is a campaign, #Red Flag campaign. Look it up on Instagram. It can save your life. It can save your sister's life. Yeah, I even believe there's a training where you get trained to really develop a skill to notice the first red flag coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
So, empower yourselves with knowledge, seek information, and then share it and share it and share it again. And that's how we save the lives of our sisters going forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, we are going to remove ourselves online for a quick second while we play this video dedicated to the victims that did not make it of domestic violence. You know what the sad thing about it is? Out of all those women, I personally knew two of them. And the very last one, we knew about her because a famous boxer killed her. So we knew about her story because of who committed the crime and not because of who the victim was. And we need to bring more light to our victims. They are the ones that suffered. One of the women that you just witnessed was beaten and stabbed to death by her domestic partner, and she was 12 weeks pregnant. But it wasn't selfish enough that he decided to beat and stab her. He beat and stabbed his own 21-month-old son along with her. Now, I say to all of you out there that may be in a toxic relationship, do you think that any of these women thought that they would become victims of death due to domestic violence? Do you not understand why Ajusta Tu Corona was created? I myself was a victim of two domestic violence relationships, not just one. And in my second domestic violent relationship, I was almost strangled to death. Had it not been for the spouse of my downstairs neighbor coming up the stairs with a bat, who knows if I would be here today? You want to know more about that story? Go buy our book that I was just an author of. Just trying to lighten up the mood because
It is.
it's very sad.
It is. It's a video. You know what? But we need that disruption in our lives. We need que le echen sal a las heridas because you know what? As you said earlier, life, we hear about these stories and then we're entangled in our lives and then we continue and then someone say, oh, did you hear about that? And we're like, oh, and we keep going until we're in the trenches with all the ones trying to get out and training the ones not to ever get in it. So this video served a great purpose. And, you know, for those who know me, know I don't cry, but I just feel like I want to break down. So we're going to blame it on the Mercury retrograde right now. Because it was beautiful. And I thank you for that. And I'm sure that people who are watching it, thank you. But yeah, spice it up.
I want to continue with what we were talking about earlier and domestic violence and how it's challenging because of all the intertwined things when it's your domestic partner that you've been with. And it's not just about the abuse, or there's so many layers to it. It's cultural, it's religious, it's psychological. It is many layers. And it takes a lot to work through. And we're doing it because we were there. We empathize with the victims. We want you to see how beautiful life can truly be on the other side. The grass is greener. Love does not hurt on the other side of domestic violence. It's
You know,
difficult to answer, you know, why, how, because it is a multi-layered situation. So, because of where I lived in Connecticut for many years. Then I moved to South Carolina, and all of my family lives in Florida. I have chosen these three states to give you um, statistics for. In 2020, this is for Florida, and this is based on the Department of Children and Families. In 2020, 106,515 crimes of domestic violence were reported in Florida. Law enforcement agency, resulting in 63,217 arrests. During the fiscal year 2021, Florida Certified Domestic Violence Center provided 412,360 nights of emergency shelter to 10,287 survivors of domestic violence and their children. Advocates created 150,799 tailored safety plans, provided a total of 191,451 hours of advocacy and counseling services. Why am I telling you this? Because Ajusta Tu Corona is having a gala this year. A gala to raise funds for a domestic violence center, which people think, oh, they'll help anybody. No, there's sweat and tears, dollars going into all of these. Instead of this situation getting better, it is getting worse. It is off the charts. How much domestic violence has increased over the years. Just in the last 2 years, it has skyrocketed. Why? Why do women continue to be abused in this fashion? And I'm sorry, I'm saying women because of the statistics that I'm reading. But unfortunately, it is also men. And I'm going to get into that in a second. So we are assisting Help Now of Osceola. We are raising funds for them. They are a domestic violence shelter. They help as many families as they can. And we really need your assistance. We need your help providing. You can call the location, you can be a volunteer, but also we need the funds. Taking care of all these children and all these women and all, they need money. So Ajusta Tu Corona's gala is dedicated to raising funds for this domestic violence shelter. We ask that you please join us. Join us at our event on October 22nd, 2022. Join us, purchase a ticket. We would love to have you in person. If you cannot attend the event, we ask that you please buy a ticket for a victim of domestic violence. Who other than them who have suffered immensely deserve to go somewhere and hear about women that were in their situation and have stepped out and are doing marvelous work? Domestic violence has no face.
no.
And as I stated last week, it could be from the woman sweeping the hotel room to the president of the United States. Domestic violence has no face, no face. It is not biased, it doesn't care.
Nope.
So, as I stated, these are, I'm sorry, did I lose you guys?
No, we're right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. My computer did something really strange. So, as I was saying, let me go back to my statistics. So as I was saying, this is Florida, they received 72,321 domestic violence hotline calls from individuals seeking emergency services information and safety planning assistance. Guess what? Many more survivors of domestic abuse are not reporting their abusers to the police or accessing services at domestic violence services due to reasons such as shame. That naughty, naughty word, shame.
Yep.
It should be shame on the abuser and not shame on the victim. Fear or being prevented from doing so by their abusers. For this reason, we may never know what the actual numbers are. We can only go off of those who actually take the time to make the call. Now, for Connecticut, they serviced in, they have 18 domestic violence organizations. And during the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 2021, they're reporting only the victim who sought services through the agencies and does not represent the total number of individuals victimized. Total victims served in Connecticut, 38,989. Incoming calls, 41,654. Incoming calls or contacts received by victims requesting services or information, or how many were housed? 2,950. This includes safe home, emergency shelter, transitional living, supportive housing, and domestic violence, rapid rehousing services. There were 1,370 adults and 1,045 children housed in emergency shelter. 65 adults and 78 children housed in transitional living settings. Do you not understand that one is too much? We are talking about thousands.
Let me share something that's very factual. You're right. They're not reporting it. They're getting beat. They're watching their children get beat. This person beating them knows they're not going to get reported. So they'll leave, they'll come down, they'll bring candy or whatever, they'll come back, they repeat. The woman feels helpless. And I'm going to tell you why, because I've had conversations with women not to lose their Section 8. They have a lot to lose. If they lose their home, they feel they will have nowhere to go with their children. And they're told, they're threatened with that, they're manipulated with that. I've spoken to 3 people, and one of them is actually a family member that dealt with it for a while until they just gave it up. But a lot of women who they're force-fed fear, and the reality is they can't get out. And that's why these services need to be, to let them know, si se puede. Leave all that behind. Come to safety. Come to growth. Come to kindness. Come to love. Every time we start something, mujeres out there, we always start fresh. We always start new. This is no different. Anything to piggyback on that, Lil? Because I think we're afraid to lose everything and to start new because we don't know where we are, because we've been brainwashed that we're not worthy. You are worthy. For every breath you take, you're worthy. And that's the message that needs to be spread. For every breath. Yes, the Thurman versus the city of Torrington, that's when it finally made the changes in domestic violence. And I wish we can speak to that lady. I wish she can be a great spokesperson even now, because her story resonates with many of us. And I think that when we are ready to live, when we want to speak to our loved ones who are in domestic violence situations, speak to them out of kindness, not hostility. Don't bring your fear to them. Don't tell them you're done with them if they don't pack up and leave now. And Lillian's been saying that since the beginning of us starting Ajusta Tu Corona. Why? Because they need you. They just don't have the voice to ask for help. But if you know them, if you love them, then you know what? Be there for them. Be there to catch them when they fall, because that's all they need right now. And encourage them. And you do research and you find places and you remind them that life begins with them. Material things are just that. They can always regain that they lost, but life cannot be regained. Absolutely. And I guess we as friends, we as, victims, survivors of rape, molestation, and domestic violence, we can tell you that we didn't want advice from people. We just wanted to know that when we were ready to take that leap of faith and run the hell out, that we had somebody that we can grab onto, because it's scary. But scary is a breakthrough. That means you're going to make it. You got to take the first step. Red flags. No shame. Dale.
No, you're absolutely right. And
life is
listen,
too short.
we can't say enough. we can't say enough. Like I could talk about this till I'm blue in the face. But one thing that I know for sure, until you're ready to make that step, you're not going to do it. And part of the reason that Ajusta Tu Corona is here is because whether you're in it or you're out of it, no matter where you are at this moment, we hope to help you be aware of where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope to be able to hug you and help you move forward. And that is our desire from the bottom of our hearts. And going back to the statistics, this year, shelters operated, and we're still talking about Connecticut. This year, shelters operated at 156% capacity. There wasn't enough room for everybody. And the average time that people stayed in these shelters was 51.1 days. 2 months. 2 months. And the court provided services for 32,225 victims. They were served with counseling, safety training, safety planning, guidance related to the court process, information, and referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad thing about it is that they're starting to teach about domestic violence from elementary school now. That's how bad it's gotten. That instead of making our young people aware in high school, because abuse can start when you start dating, now they're starting at elementary school. So that children will know when their mom and dads are being abused at home.
It's serious, but it's like a redheaded stepchild. Doesn't get enough, doesn't have the spotlight on it enough, unless, but when we all gather in sisterhood and do what we're doing and our many different platforms across the world, we don't even need to know each other. We just need to be connected by our souls wanting better for one another. I think the message will spread. So we have to share, and we have to spread information, and we have to know that, you know what? Everybody has gone through something, and everybody, as long as you maintain that breath within you, can get through everything. You can get through it. Whether you have support from friends, family, or strangers who are willing. What you just said right now is very important, Lillian. These kids, without knowing what it is, they live in fear, and hurt people. So why do you think the bullying starts in elementary school? Because of the abuse they're witnessing at home. They have no outlet. They can't talk about it to nobody. They go, I think that's genius. They need to be aware. We can't shelter our children, because you know what? They might be the ones one day to save one of their parents' lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and where they started this at? Where?
I want to say Minnesota, but I read it.
That was phenomenal information, right? That right there was just so important right now, because we have to start somewhere. And I guess, Lillian, I'm sorry that I have to leave early, but we will be talking about other things. This Ajusta Tu Corona isn't about sitting here and just talking and sharing statistics. And this is a movement. This is such a movement that's going to be geared towards, vida. Movimiento es vida. Movement is life. And I can't say that enough. And I won't stop saying it. And I've been repeating a lot lately, because I've been guilty of not moving only from one part of my house to the other. Pero it's awareness. And when you're like, oh my God, I haven't been con el movimiento, then doors start opening up. And then tonight's show. And I said, I got to remember to add that in, because We have to move. And if you got to move through, kick down doors to get to the other door and walk through that other threshold and walk out to your freedom, it's a battle worth fighting for.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you for joining me.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Can I continue?
So I'm just going to continue with South Carolina, and then I'm going to replay the video for our audience. And that will be it for the night, because I happen to be visiting family and I'm going to get back to them. So
Okay.
I wanted to let you guys know that South Carolina, where I currently live, is the number 6 state where domestic violence is the worst. And I am not happy about it. Maybe this is why I was brought to South Carolina. But it states 42.3% of South Carolinian women and 29.2% of South Carolinian men experience intimate partner physical violence, intimate partner sexual violence, and or intimate partner stalking in their lifetimes. Luckily, we are one of the states that has decided not to issue guns to any person charged with any of these crimes.
Oh,
and
great.
until it is taking out. In 2019, 36 women and 6 men were victims of domestic violence homicide. 78.5% of these homicides were committed with firearms. This is the reason that now you cannot get a gun license or a gun if you are charged with stalking, domestic violence. There is a restraining order against you. Until the restraining order is expired, you may not be able to obtain a gun.
Wow. That's good.
So I think they're recognizing. It says on a single day in 2020, South Carolina domestic violence program served 620 victims of domestic violence. In one day, they received 101 hotline calls, averaging 4 contacts per hour. 130 requests for services on this day could not be provided due to the lack of resources.
Wow.
How? The more we train, the more we teach, the more we try to get out there and spread the love and spread the word and make awareness. It gets to the point where it's so bad. Someone, please, out there in the audience, what would your suggestion be? Like, where do we begin? So anyway, I didn't get the statistics, but let me see if I can share this link with you guys. I'm playing around with the computer, trying to see if I can share information with you. So I did find that President Biden did sign a bunch of laws into effect to provide more money and more resources to domestic violence. If you can copy this link, this is for you to contact your congressional leader and ask for more sponsorship for domestic violence. It is urge Congress to support vital funding increases for survivors and fiscal year 23 appropriations. Because it states domestic violence is affecting millions of victims each year and has increased in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is to urge Congress to support vital funding increases. I can't even pronounce the word. For survivors in fiscal year 23 appropriations. So if you can copy that, go to that page, fill out the form, help us to help you, we'd gladly appreciate it.
That's great. Okay.
Mi gente, I am going to say my goodnight right now, but before I leave, I am going to replay the video because I want this video to be imprinted in your mind and in your heart. I need everyone who is watching to donate to the Ajusta Tu Corona gala or to please attend the gala. If you are not able to attend the gala, please donate a ticket for someone of domestic. If that is
What happened?
Mi gente, whoever's still out there watching, my apologies. I am having technical difficulties. I am in a home that does not have internet service, and my internet hotspot died. Thank you so much for watching this evening. Once again, do not forget that you are amazing. You are loved. You are exceptional. Ajusta tu corona and keep it moving. And as promised, here is that video that I wanted you guys to watch again. Good night. Good night.